Welcome to the most listened to golf in the world, the Fairways of Life show, on air, online, and around the world, with the most candid interviews, unforgettable stories, taking you beyond the ropes. Here's your host, New York Times best-selling author, Matt Adams.
Welcome into the PXG Custom Studios. You've never played like this before. PXG.com is where you can log on for more information on how you can play your very best. It is PGA Championship week. We are delighted with your company as we are on the morning of the eve of the 107th PGA Championship at Quail Hollow. Everything right now is pretty much kind of, I'm going to call it on a lockdown, but it makes it sound more dramatic than what it is. It's the weather. The weather is there in earnest. We're going to go over the weather forecast with you in just a moment. Right now, as we speak, Rory Maroy is addressing the media. We will have that for you in its entirety, or at least those parts that Dom has chosen to show on our Fairways of Life platform, our Fairways of Life YouTube channel. I can't tell you this much, that Rory had an interesting discussion with the media where they were like, you know, where are you at mentally? I'm paraphrasing, but where are you at mentally now? Thoughts, emotions, goals. And he effectively said, I've accomplished everything that I set out to accomplish in the game. I've been number one in the world. I've won every single major. Anything that I do from this point on feels like a bonus, which I think, I don't take that as a resignation. I take that as a very, very powerful mindset from Rory McIlroy. So like I said, you will find Rory's sound along with everybody else, which we'll be getting to the latter coming up in the next segment, who have addressed the media to hear their thoughts coming into this second men's major of 2025. As to tee times and featured groups, that has been released. Information coming out. Let's show you some of what we know right now. Notable tee times for the PGA Championship. These are all Eastern time. 7:30 a.m., Brooks Koepka, Ricky Fowler, and Shane Lowry. Say that again, Dom. Did you just say something in my headset? Oh, 7:38. He was correcting me on the first tee time. You can see it on your screen there if you're watching us on the television side. 7:38 a.m. for Koepka, Fowler, and Lowry. At 7:49 a.m., Phil Mickelson, Tommy Fleetwood, Jason Day. At 8 a.m., John Rahm, Patrick Cantlay, and Matt Fitzpatrick. 8:22 a.m., Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, and Scottie Scheffler. How about that group? 8:22 a.m. McIlroy, Schauffele, and Scheffler. 8:44 a.m. Novak, Bradley, and McNeely. You're going to hear from the United States Ryder Cup captain coming up in the show today. 12:52 p.m. as we jump to the afternoon. Lucas Glover, Max Homa, Joaquin Niemann. At 1:03 p.m. Tyrrell Hatton, Will Zalatoris, Adam Scott. At 1:14 p.m., Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson, Colin Morikawa. 1:25 is Jordan Spieth, Patrick Reed, Ludwig Åberg. At 1:47 p.m. on Thursday, Bryson DeChambeau, Victor Hovland, Gary Woodland. At 1:58 p.m., Sergio Garcia, Daniel Berger, Russell Henley. At 2:09 p.m., Justin Rose, Cameron Smith, and Brian Harman. You heard me mention the weather. Dom, I guess the updates are continuing to come in on the weather in the Charlotte area. I'm sure you're getting the same stuff there in the Raleigh area where our second studio is. What are we seeing? What are we hearing?
Yeah, you can see there on your screen, it's looking pretty solid now that the tournament is here. There's obviously some potential for a little bit of rain in the forecast, but nothing like the days leading up. I'll read this now officially. This came out literally a couple hours ago from the organizers. There may be some passing showers, isolated thunderstorms in the pre-dawn hours of Thursday morning. Otherwise, drier weather is expected as a ridge of high pressure builds into the region, producing hot and humid conditions Thursday through Saturday, with the highs reaching possibly as high as 90 degrees Fahrenheit. A cold front will move through the state at some point Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, and that could kick off isolated thunderstorms as it passes. Less humid conditions can be expected Sunday as the front settles into the south of the area. And if you're looking there on your screen Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for tournament weather, Something that I think is of consequence, Matt, is if you look at the bottom there where it says winds, 10 to 15, 6 to 12, gusts up to 20 miles per hour west and northwest over the weekend. You know, that could play a role. That's actually windy. 20-mile-per-hour gusts. That's going to cause problems.
Yeah, Saturday's even a little bit more than that, up to 25, I see, on Saturday. So, yeah, it is. 15 miles per hour, 12 to 15 miles per hour is at least a half a club for those guys, depending on circumstance. And on a golf course that's already wet, this wind coming in, it's westerly, and then it starts to go west-northwest on Sunday. It's going to be a different wind coming in. It was southwest, for example. So there's some dramatic changes in the wind direction as the week progresses, and those gusts will make it very interesting. I have heard speculation already that they might have – it's a full field, as you can imagine. They might have some trouble getting everybody through 36 holes by the end of the day on Friday, but we'll see how that continues to play itself out. So here's my other question, Dom. Before we went on the air today, Dominic was telling me that – there were some pretty significant changes in the odds. And because we've been talking about that all week, let's jump into that and tell us about what you're seeing in terms of the odds. Where were the changes?
The changes were everywhere. The most noticeable changes are at the very top of the favorites. Rory Maroy, who was 5-1, is now a neck-and-neck favorite going into the PGA Championship tomorrow morning with Scottie Scheffler, both 9-2, which is 4.5 to 1 essentially. Bryson's odds have improved considerably. He was 12 to 1, and I believe he was as much as 15 or 16 to 1, several weeks ago. He is now 8 to 1, and Justin Thomas's odds have gotten a little worse. He was 18 to 1 just yesterday, and he's now 20 to 1. And then there's some movement in the pack a little bit. Some of these guys like Jordan's odds got a little worse. Daniel Berger's odds got a little worse. Corey Connors' odds got slightly better. So there's a little bit of movement in the pack. But the big news, Matt, is that Rory and Scottie are now just straight up neck and neck favorites. And Bryce, the odds makers are saying, Matt, it's Scottie, Rory, and Bryson. That's who's going to win the PGA Championship. It's one of these three people because there's a sizable gap now between that group and the rest of the field. And that was not the case just 2 weeks ago. It
is interesting to see some names on this graphic that we have up on the screen, folks. And I'll go through what I'm looking at here for those of you that are listening to us on the radio side and the audio side, where if you were inclined to look for odds that say long shot, but players in the way they're playing are not long shot. For example, Sepp Straka is 60 to 1. Right? That sounds like a pretty good look right there. Daniel Berger is 80 to 1. Russell Henley is 80 to 1. Now, I know Russell Henley doesn't have great length, but remember last time coming into the final round, Kevin Kisner was leading the PGA Championship here. So this course is not all about length because of the size of the greens and accessibility, et cetera. It's going to be long because it's wet. I get it. Patrick Reed is 80 to 1. Sungjae Im is 90 to 1. Cam Smith, Wyndham Clark, they're both 101. Neither one of those are moving me one way or the other. Minwoo Lee at 100 to 1 is something of interest to me. Sam Burns at 125 to 1, I think is interesting. Akshay Bhatia at 125 to 1 is interesting. Justin Rose at 125 to 1. I know he didn't feel well last week, but he's on site this week and he's practicing. It doesn't seem to be any accounts that he's not feeling well. That's another one that I think is worth a look at in terms of the other end of the spectrum, as we were talking about Scottie Scheffler and Rory McIlroy, who, as of this morning, with the odds, which the way that we do it here at Fairways of Life is this is not a single source of odds. This is a combination of multiple houses that we bring you the average of. So Scottie Scheffler and Rory McIlroy are in a dead heat at 9 to 2, or if you please, 4.5 to 1, if you'd rather do it that way. Bryson DeChambeau is 8 to 1, and then you get to all the rest. Justin Thomas, Xander Schauffele, John Rahm, all at 20 to 1. Colin Morikawa, Ludwig Oberg, 25 to 1. Joaquin Niemann is 30 to 1. Tommy Fleetwood, we were talking about him yesterday, and Tommy was 35 to 1. That is where he is today as well. Patrick Cantlay is 40-1. I think Patrick Cantlay is worth a look. Brooks Koepka, Victor Hovland at 45-1. Victor Hovland has one of the lowest averages, scoring averages, at Quail Hollow, which I thought was interesting. You know who else does, Dom? You're going to get a kick out of this. Who's one of the top 10 in terms of scoring averages there? Recent rounds? Mark Hubbard. I thought you'd find that of interest. Terrell Hatton is 50-1. Hideki Matsuyama is 50-1. Shane Lowry is 50-1. I think Shane's another pretty good bargain at 50-1. So there's a look at the current odds and where we stand. All right, we want to get to the more important stuff, which is you hearing from the players directly. Where are their minds right now? When we come back on the Fairways of Life show, that is exactly what we are going to do. You're going to hear from some very, very big names indeed.
Head down, water down the left, bunker down the right, take the club straight back.
Wandering minds.
When golfers lose their focus, they're totally...
But Bridgestone can help.
Introducing Mindset. The ball scientifically designed to keep you focused.
First, identify your target.
Next, visualize your shot path.
And then focus on the green dot and smooth one.
Play the Tour B and E12 with Mindset technology.
You see what happens when we work together? Stuff like that.
FlightScope Mevo Plus is the ultimate indoor and outdoor golf launch monitor and simulator. It gives you the club and ball data you need with the accuracy you demand. Mevo Plus comes with ownership of simulated golf courses for you to play and practice at home. Mevo Plus is an essential golf partner to help you improve and understand your game better. Put more purpose in your practice. To learn more and get your Mevo Plus, shop now at flightscope.com.
Innovation has been at the heart of every Super Stroke grip we've ever created, cementing our status as the #1 putting grip on tour. Now the best just got better. Introducing Super Stroke Synergy, our most advanced putting grips ever, for unmatched confidence to quiet your hands and your mind. Find the perfect grip for your game at superstrokeusa.com.
Our journey began with a simple yet powerful vision to provide the world with the highest quality Virginia-type peanuts. The Hubbard Peanut Company, where quality and tradition meet to create an unforgettable experience. Visit hubspeanuts.com to explore our full range of products and place your order today.
Stride by Zero Friction, the first of its kind personal caddy. Walk in comfort and style with Stride's remote and follow me technology. The Stride handles almost any terrain, and its 54-hole range will last all day. The lightweight design and removable front wheels makes it simple to handle. Plus, it easily fits golf carts. Pick up your Stride today at a local PGA Tour Superstore near you or at zerofriction.com/Stride. Stride, your personal caddy.
As we welcome you back to the PXG Custom Studios, you've never played like this before. Log on to pxg.com to find out more. All right, so as I mentioned to you, Rory McIlroy has just wrapped up in the media center, and we will have that sound for you in the Fairways of Life YouTube channel coming up. Dom, what are we hearing? What quotes are you getting from the transcripts early on?
Oh, there's a couple things I can relay. One of them, which is making its rounds on social media already, is Bryson said, this is a question for Rory. Bryson said after the final round that you barely spoke to him because you were so locked in.
At the Masters,
Talk about that. Rory said, I don't know what he was expecting. We're trying to win the Masters. I'm not going to try and be his best mate out there. Look, everyone approaches the game different ways. I was focused on myself and what I needed to do. That's really all it was. It wasn't anything against him or anybody else. It just felt it's just that I felt that's what I needed to do to try and get the best out of myself that day. Another note I think here is someone asked him, what's it like to achieve the dream of your life, winning the Masters? It's everything I thought it would be, Rory said. I think the outpouring of support and congratulatory messages has been amazing. Everyone needs to have goals and dreams, and I've been able to do something that I dreamed of for a long time. I'm still going to set myself goals. I'm still going to try and achieve things, but I sit here knowing that very well could be the highlight of my career. It's a very cool thing. I want to still create highlights and high points, but I'm not sure if any other win will live up to what happened a few weeks ago. So we'll clean the best of this stuff up once this becomes available and put it on the site, and you guys will be able to watch what he says. But there's some cool stuff coming out there. He's obviously in a great headspace, Matt.
So that from Rory McIlroy. Rory McIlroy addressing the media on Wednesday and giving us some insight into, again, who is Rory now? Who is Rory today? Who is Rory after achieving the career Grand Slam? Who is Rory after vanquishing the Ghosts and winning at Augusta National? And what could it all mean towards his future? We can see what it means towards this week, this PGA Championship. Now, for Scottie Scheffler, who coming into the week ended up dead tied with Rory McIlroy as the odds-on favorite to win this PGA Championship. Coming in, he was asked about trying to stay present on the golf course, be where your feet are, if you will, having momentum coming into the week of a major championship. And he was asked about, because of all the rain, the course conditions.
I think a lot of times at majors you can almost over-prepare. So coming in this week, making sure you're rested. It's a big golf course, and it's pretty wet out there, but the greens are still staying pretty firm. They're still fairly new, and when you get that new Bermuda, the greens can stay firm, and so golf course will play long, but it should be a good test. It'd be silly to say that I can't ride the positive momentum from a good week like that. I mean, to finish off that tournament the way I did and have it not really be too close on the back nine. I mean, I played some really nice golf, and I talked a little bit about how I felt like my game was trending, and so it was nice to see some results from a lot of hard work to start the year, and I feel like my game's in a good spot, and so I think it'd be silly to say I can't ride a little bit of that momentum going into this tournament. Well, I just felt like my swing was coming around. I felt like my ball striking maybe held me back a little bit at the beginning of the year, and I kept the ball. I drove it really nice last week at the Byron and hit some really good iron shots, and was able to give myself a lot of looks around that golf course, what you need to do, and was able to hold some putts as well. I think it's always a battle to try to stay in the present. I think when I was in college, my college coach did a really good job of helping me kind of learn that skill. He really preached on when you're at the golf course, you're at the golf course. When you're in class, you're in class. And, when I'm out doing stuff with my friends, like I don't want to be at home hanging out with my wife thinking about my golf swing. I don't want to be out here at the golf course thinking about being at home. Like we have certain time throughout the day, and I think when you're in the present, you're able to make the most of those situations, whether it be, enjoying them to the fullest or getting the most out of the work that I put in when I'm at the golf course. So I think it's a constant battle.
Really interesting stuff there from Scottie Scheffler because, and in particular, I've noticed it in 2025, that Scottie Scheffler seems to be getting more comfortable with opening up with all of us. I'd say with the media, but it's not really with the media. He knows he's speaking to the world of golf, and he's giving us more than what he used to. And that idea of mindset, when I'm away from the golf, I'm away from the golf, and when I'm inside and devoted to the golf, I'm 100% where I need to be. I thought it was fascinating stuff. Bryson DeChambeau is also always obviously fascinating. Coming into the week, and again with this philosophy of why we do this, he was asked about contending consistently in major championships. Who is he today as a competitor in that regard? His reaction that he got from and since winning the U.S. Open last year at Pinehurst, has it kind of changed him, redefined him, or just revealed him from that standpoint? And how excited he is coming into the week about Quail Hollow.
Well, I remember you've got to drive it well. And so far I've been driving it well this season. Hopefully it continues. Greens are tricky. Got to have great irons. I mean, you got to come in with a full, complete set of clubs that you feel comfortable with attacking flags at, and just strategizing your way around the golf course. So it's got to be a full test of golf this week, and I'm certainly excited for the challenge. Yeah, I think that it's been quite special for me seeing everybody give me praise and whatnot. Although I don't, feel like I always deserve it. I'm just very blessed to have that type of following now and continue to grow it. I want to do more than just the game of golf. I want to grow outside of the game of golf. I want to bring other golfers that have never seen the game of golf into golf. And YouTube's been a great platform to do that. I've been very blessed and fortunate to have partners at YouTube and Google now, and I'm super excited to see what the future holds because there's a lot more room to grow. Yeah, I feel like I've always had the capacity to play well in major championships and contend consistently. A lot of things have to go right in majors for you to play well, and your whole game has to be on. And so I felt like at Valhalla, especially after Augusta, that was the second time that I'd played well in a major. And it kind of gave me that confidence I could just keep moving forward with that at every major and keep hammering down on majors and besides the Open Championship, which I feel like is something I've got to continue to work on, which I am rigorously working on. I feel like I'm moving in the right direction with giving myself a lot of multiple chances to win these major championships. So I felt like at Valhalla last year, it was more of an assurance of saying, hey, I can do this and I can do this for a long time. God willing. So I'm going to continue to just try and play my best golf. Hopefully that expresses itself positively this week and in future weeks at different majors and even at live events. But my goal is to play the best every single week I possibly can. But Valhalla definitely gave me some confidence for the rest of the majors last year and then even this year.
Really interesting to hear from Bryson DeChambeau because as I enjoy seeing from young athletes is to watch them mature right before our eyes, watch them become who they eventually are going to be. And we can see that with Bryson, even though I feel a lot of our perception and understanding of Bryson as a person has been what I led into his sound with, a revelation versus a change. There is a maturity factor that's there too. I think it's a self-awareness that Bryson has become better with, and we're getting to see the Bryson who is a very, very generous person, willing to give of himself in a way that kind of stands alone, honestly, amongst the players at the top of the field. So many eyes, of course, were on Justin Thomas coming into this week. And he was asked about a number of different things. He was asked in his press conference about, what he thinks about Rory as a driver of the golf ball. I love the question he was asked about whether he possesses a competitive jealousy. Here's Justin Thomas.
Definitely. I feel, especially Hilton Head, and Tampa too. I'm just more patient, I'd say. I don't feel like I'm forcing the issue as much. Just trying to trust, my game and myself quite a bit more. I feel like some of the events maybe earlier this year or last year where I had a chance to win, I just felt like I maybe pressed a little too much. But, it's we all want to win, and I'm no different. I just think sometimes you're in a better headspace than others to try and capitalize or to give yourself a chance. And I feel like that's kind of how it's been the last couple events. It's tough to say. I think that the thing you have when you're young is not that I don't have any fear now, but I was very fortunate to have success at a young age. But when you're 23, 24 years old, it's just like, what you don't have anything else to think about or to have to worry about. You don't have any scar tissue. You don't have any experience. It's just like, hey, the PGA that I played here in 17, it was just my third PGA I've ever played in. So it's, the only real time I had a chance to win, I was in the final group at Erin Hills earlier that year. So it's just earlier in your career, it's a different, it's similar mindset of obviously we want to win, we have a lot of fire and we work hard, but it's a different kind of thing. But I feel great about my game. I would like to think and hope I'm a more mature person and golfer. But I don't think it's fair to play the comparison game, and I just I believe and I hope but firmly believe that some of my best is still ahead of me, and I know that I have that in there. I just have to kind of go find it and prove it. A lot. It's I remember that a lot from my first couple of years on tour in Jordan, having a lot of success and playing well, and it is. Over your course of your career, you're obviously it's not like you know, when you're in college and you have someone that turns pro early and they're winning tour events and you're like, you know, I've beaten him before, or kind of thing. It's like we obviously all beat each other quite often, but it's, you know, I have a lot of faith and a lot of ability or trust in my ability and feel like I have confidence and I feel like what I can do. So I told Jill after watching the Masters, it was like, of course, and obviously I knew I've always wanted to win the Grand Slam, want to win all the majors. But for some reason, like watching somebody do it firsthand, it reminded me almost of like, damn, yeah, I forgot. I really do want to do that. Kind of, it's weird. It's something I think all of us, some sort of certain people maybe hit us a little different ways in terms of jealousy or drive or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, anytime someone wins that isn't me, that I'm, you know, if it's a friend, I'm obviously happy for him, but there's always going to be a part of me that's jealous and wishes it was me. I think you'd be kind of crazy to say otherwise. I would argue he's the best driver of the ball I've ever seen, and that is extremely important here, but I think his shot shape, I think this golf course fits a high draw really, really well. There's a lot of tee shots, you know, whether it's holding fairways or fitting dog legs, you know, taking bunkers out of play, whatever it is. And then, I mean, he just has, when he's on, he has such control with that driver. It seems like he can hit it, you know, in a window and an area that you know, some guys are trying to hit short irons. And, I mean, that's a tremendous advantage or threat at any golf course, but I feel like a place like this where it doesn't necessarily require a lot of thought or strategy off the tee. It's generally, you know, pulling out driver, and I need to hit this as far and straight as possible. And he's really, really good at that. So I think, you know, that's something, like I said, is an advantage at any golf course, but I think just the shot shape and that is a good combination.
Rory is the person that JT was just talking about there with the driver and the proficiency and power of the driver on the golf course. He also mentioned about his aspirations to win a career Grand Slam, which causes one to think, could we be seeing the first generation of golfers where we have multiple players, talking about maybe 3 or 4 or 5 players that have the chance to and perhaps even accomplish the career Grand Slam within the same era, because there's a lot of players that are starting to knock on that door. That's a good place to start with mindset coming into the week of Jordan Spieth, who was asked about how much he's thinking about the Grand Slam this week.
I don't think so. It's been more, I've been surprised at, you know, there's been a number of years I've come to the PGA and no one's really even asked me about it. And there's been some years where, you know, where it was, you know, a storyline, I guess. It's funny, I think if Rory didn't, then it wouldn't have been a storyline for me here necessarily. I mean, it's always a storyline if I work my way in, but at least ahead of time, I've just felt like I've been asked about it more than, you know, other years, including years where I've come in, you know, I want to say 22, I came in after winning and then finishing second back-to-back, which I would have thought would be a time where that would have been one. So I've kind of been surprised by the dynamic a little bit. But, you know, it's always circled on the calendar for me. It's you know, I guess if I could pick one, if I could only win one tournament the rest of my life, I'd pick this one for that reason. And obviously watching Rory win after, you know, giving it a try for a number of years was inspiring. You know, you could tell it was a harder win than most of the time. He makes it look a lot easier. And so that obviously was on the forefront of his mind. And so something like that has not been done by many people, and there's a reason why. And but I'd love to throw my hat in the ring and give it a chance come the weekend this week. I think it's more about the golf courses than it is anything else. You know, they're just going to present a little more of a challenge in a different way, and each major is different from the next and what that challenge is. But, you know, whether that's, you know, side to miss on the fairway that you might get away with in a PGA Tour event that you don't get away with in a major. It's just a little bit of an extra level of course management, and it's ahead of time. It's a lot of the course management preparation that's more of kind of the mental side. But, you know, I mean, the crowds are bigger, the grandstands are bigger. That over time kind of just becomes a blur. We always have huge crowds at this event. It's one of the, I think, and a lot of amphitheater type seating here at Quail Hollow. So I don't think it'll look as different as maybe when we go to an unfamiliar place with huge, like Valhalla last year with huge setups, but we don't know the course very well. So it all just, is a big thing. This is normal for here. Things, obviously they're not triple decker, they're maybe double decker, right? The PGA, always throws in some pretty incredible grandstands, whether it be the PGA Championship or the Ryder Cup. So everything's just a little bit more heightened. But I think it's more ahead of time, and as you start to get into it, I think it's actually a little easier on the mental side, easier than it is ahead of time. It just kind of settles into more of a normal tournament. As you start to contend on the weekend, that changes. You sleep a little uneasy. I mean, majors have that, historical, presence to them. They mean more to every player that's playing this week. We'll tell you if they were going to win one of 4 tournaments, they'd probably pick one of the 4 majors. So that settles in, as you work your way into contention, and then that becomes a little bit of a different animal, just sleeping a little more uneasy and anticipation. And I think it's all the off the course stuff that's harder to handle mentally than on the course. Not necessarily. I think the longer lever and the more full shots last year were better for me with where my mechanics were off, and that would be. I was not in a place that I've played very good golf from, but because it was a longer lever, the timing was just easier hitting full shots with the driver. Not to mention, the drivers that I have now are just incredible. The improvement Titleist has made in their drivers, like the miss hits being just as fast and just as straight. I think the technology has a lot to do with it. But you're looking at strokes gained, so that's relative to everybody else having better technology too. I was just more comfortable in full hard shots, and yeah, it was coincidental that the driving was better and the approach wasn't. I wasn't mechanically sound to hit all the shots needed to have an approach game that was up there with the best of them. So pushing drive, I didn't try to become a better driver by any means. I was just it just kind of happened. And this year it feels pretty good. And luckily I think I'm on the right path to having everything kind of follow it right behind it.
Isn't that fascinating? Isn't it great when we get a chance to hear directly from the players, to hear what's in their thoughts, hearts, and minds? And I love to hear from them and their mindset and their thinking at the start of a major championship week. Yeah, we have the luxury of looking back and having the ability to have, retrospect on whether their mindset, their approach, their strategy was correct or not. But the bigger point that I'm trying to make is I think it's great when we get to hear directly from the players instead of just hearing from pundits, with all due respect, that are trying to impress you with their interpretation. Why not hear directly from the players and let them speak for themselves? I love it. Speaking of which, Xander Schauffele last year got it all started with the PGA Championship, an absolutely historic season for him. And he starts with this sound talking to us about what his mindset is like when in contention.
I think when you're in a position to win, you sort of forget, you don't really hang your hat on anything that can kind of bring you down. I think when, like coming back from injury earlier this year, I'm nitpicking myself around every corner versus when I'm in sort of mid-season form, I'm hitting the similar quality shots or bad shots or good shots, across the board. And the difference really is when you're in the moment, I think you don't nitpick. You're just on a mission. You're on a mission to do one thing, and that's to win. And it's sort of a whatever it takes mentality. And you're not sitting there nitpicking yourself on sort of the small things, or if you mishit it or you miss your line by a little bit, things of that nature. So it's been a process for me to get back to that point where I'm okay with, hitting bad shots or, hitting it out of place and just making the best of it and sort of moving along from there and allowing myself to get a good 9-hole stretch in and go low. So that's been a process coming back and thinking back to the 72nd hole there. I was just in a good state of mind. I was all I was trying to do was win that tournament. And it didn't matter if, I had to hit a shot lefty on the last hole. I wasn't going to be rattled. I think when you look at just the statistics that way, I think you'll just point, there's probably an emphasis or a certain weight that driving carries if you're able to hit it in the fairway and hit a certain distance. But shoot, you can hit in the fairway all day and miss a lot of greens, and you're going to have a really tough go around. So, I think it's a really tough golf course. I think everyone knows what they need to do. There's no sort of trick to play this golf course. A lot of people will hit it to the same spot. A lot of people will miss it to the same spot as well. And it's about who, it's not bad because it's like who can get up and down better when they're out of position, and then who can capitalize when they're in a good position. So it seems to be pretty fair. And yes, maybe it does err, or, if you do hit it far, it does help. But for the most part, I think it's a pretty fair property. I think in terms of growing the game at some point, making it global, it's always been a little bit global, but making it a global sport, I'm sure that's something that the tour is looking at. I would be shocked if they weren't. So, having big events in Ireland or in England or in somewhere in Europe or in Asia or in Australia, I think there are certain markets for it. It just needs to make sense and the timing needs to work. And then I think if you make it make sense for everyone, then I think you'd see a lot more players doing it.
There's a growing murmur in the game, whispers really, about the idea of taking a major championship such as the PGA Championship, a concept that was originally floated by Ted Bishop when he was president of the PGA of America. So credit where it's due with Ted and his vision, where he said, maybe once a decade you take the PGA Championship and you move it outside of the United States. You go someplace globally, and he initially suggested Ireland as a great place to bring it. I think it's a brilliant idea to take the PGA Championship and make it more of a global major instead of 3 of the 4 majors just be anchored in the USA. I think it's just a brilliant, brilliant idea with all the great golf courses that are around the world and the ability and the impact that it would have to grow the game in these different areas. Speaking about an international player, it is certainly that of Jon Rahm. And he had a really interesting answer when he was asked about what he's learned about skill set, mindset in contending in majors.
You always feel like to win the major, you have to play perfect, which is not true, right? I remember the RNA did this 20-minute little documentaries with Open Champions, and Padraig Harrington said, I think it was at Muirfield in 2002 when he played about as good as he could play and didn't win, and he got to the point where he thought he had to get lucky to win a major championship. I think that's a little bit of part of it, but at the end of the day, it's just a lot of it is, keep playing good golf, keep playing solid golf, and take advantage of the good stretches you're going to have throughout the week. But by any means, you don't have to play perfect. It's funny, a few times I've gone back and seen reruns of some of my rounds, like both Sundays, and especially the one at the US Open. I thought I played so good, and I didn't realize how many fairways I missed and how many shots that I considered that weren't good, but did all the things right to minimize the damage, right? So it's funny, I think 9-10 years ago I was thinking I had to play my absolute best in every aspect of the game, and I think if anything, just have to have full faith in all aspects of your game and just learn how to manage the golf course that week. Yeah, of course. Only, 6 people now in history that have been able to do it? Yeah. I would love to do it. Obviously, it's not easy. And I think, obviously, it would be a lot more in my mind if I were to win a 3rd different one, kind of like Jordan has been able to do. But as in right now, if I ever had a thought, I would focus more on quantity of majors rather than which ones, right? Obviously. In the sense of, let's say I never achieve it, I'd rather have a situation like Sir Nick Faldo, where he has 6 of 2 of them, instead of having maybe 3 different ones, right? If that makes any sense. So now if you get all 4 of them, even if you won each one once, I think it's so significant that you might take that over 6, right? So, but as in right now, I'd rather just think more about number 3, and if it happens to be the Open or the PGA, then I'll focus on a possible Grand Slam. But listen, right now I don't want to think about it too much. But yeah, of course, I think it's a goal of all of us who play the game. I'm aware it's been probably the one haven't been my best at. I think my best finish was Belle Reef, I think. And I think it's possibly because of the versatility and variability of this event. Like when you go to Augusta, you know what you're getting. Same course every year too. The U.S. Open, 9 out of 10 times you know what you're getting depending on weather. And same at the Open, right? It'll be firmer or less, but you know what you're getting. Is this championship that would change venues and drastically change the way they set it up? Like the way a Southern Hills might play to the way this week might play to the way a Bethpage might play. They're all drastically different, right? So it's possibly the difference, which is more about, okay, your game needs to be a very high level as opposed to possibly the other three that you can adjust a little bit more knowing what's coming. At that point, that's just a bit of speculation. I think it's just more coincidence that I haven't played good.
I love hearing from the players like this. Absolutely fascinating to me. It is obviously always fascinating to hear from a captain of the Ryder Cup. Keegan Bradley is Team USA's captain, but Keegan is of an age and of a game such that his name is actually in the mix to be on the team, but he's captain of the team. So the questions start with, what kind of captain will you be?
Yeah, I think we have to see how the team takes shape here in the next couple months, but we'll definitely be using analytics to help us make the picks, along with, obviously the eye test of who we think is going to be suited for Bethpage. But I think when you get down to it, they're always really tough decisions. So the more information you can get helps you with those. But we'll see how the team takes shape in the next couple months. We had that Ryder Cup dinner the other week, but we're working every day, every week for the guys for Bethpage. But I think it's important. I know it for me as a player, I loved going to these meetings because it started to get real, like this is coming, and I really want to get on this team and try to motivate the guys to be excited to play for our captains that we have and get excited to play at Bethpage Black. And like I said, as a player, I was always just so excited to go to stuff like that because it's our dream to be on these teams, and even getting invited to a meeting like that is special because it means you're could make the team. This Ryder Cup and what comes with this, no one cares about what's going on in this side PGA Tour Live. Like we're trying to put the best team together, and it could mean there's one Live guy, two Live guys. That doesn't matter. We'll see how this year shakes out, but it was really great to have them all together with the guys. It's been a while since we've been able to do that. It's different this year because my main job at the Ryder Cup is to be the captain. Right now, I go about every day as the captain. I don't even think about me as a player at this point. If I get to, the end of the year and I'm in that conversation, I'll change that. But for now, I have to operate every day as if I'm the captain and make decisions as the captain. I'm not thinking of myself as a player on the team at the moment.
Fascinating stuff from Keegan Bradley. Fascinating stuff from all the players that we heard from. We are not done yet on the Fairways of Life show on this day. When we come back, some equally fascinating numbers that dig into the history of the PGA Championship and how that history ties into today. Stay with us. More coming up.
In Ireland, golf is more than just a game. Come and experience our world-famous links courses and our world-famous Parkland courses, all set alongside world-famous scenery. And visit our world-famous historic sites. And while you're here, enjoy our world-famous hospitality. Fill your heart with Ireland at ireland.com/golf.
Ben Hogan Golf Equipment is back. Established in 1953, we serve golfers who demand excellence of their equipment. Designed by the game's best engineers, forged in the world's best foundries, and built to order in the USA. Don't settle for off-the-rack disappointment. Elevate your game with custom clubs at direct-to-consumer pricing. Exclusively at benhogangolf.com. That's benhogangolf.com.
At PXG, we believe you get more out of your golf clubs when you're custom fitted. This ensures that every PXG club in your bag is completely dialed in to deliver maximum performance for your swing. Golfers of every skill level should go through this process, and PXG's judgment-free fittings will make sure you're completely comfortable and satisfied. Book your fitting and see what we can do for your game. PXG, you've never played like this before, period.
Innovation has been at the heart of every SuperStroke grip we've ever created, cementing our status as the #1 putting grip on tour. Now the best just got better. Introducing SuperStroke Synergy, our most advanced putting grips ever, for unmatched confidence to quiet your hands and your mind. Find the perfect grip for your game at superstrokeusa.com.
What would your ultimate golf experience be like? Just you and a friend? Or would you round up some buddies for a foursome? Just one day? Or an entire week? There's a good chance your ultimate golf experience could be Michigan's magnificent 10. 10 incredible courses set among 3 remarkable resorts. See for yourself. Book your ultimate golf experience today.
Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. You know, Hub's Peanuts has been cooking up the top 1% of peanuts for over 70 years. And these aren't your average nut. These are super extra large Virginia peanuts cooked in the USA. Family-owned Hub's Peanuts have more protein than any other nuts. So whether it's a boost on the course or a special gift, the variety of flavors guarantees Hub's Peanuts is just what you need. Family-owned, nutritious, delicious, and sustainable. Hub's Peanuts, it's just right. HubsPeanuts.com.
When you choose Newton shafts, you're choosing more than a product. You're choosing innovation, pride, and excellence right here in America. We pay attention to the minutest of details, and you can feel that in the performance of our shafts.
Yeah, that's the stage upon which it is all playing out. PGA Championship week on the Fairways of Life show. I am Matt Adams. Andrew and Dom are behind the glass. Time now for our Did You Know segment presented by FlightScope, because if you know, I'm talking about your distance, your data, your gapping. FlightScope's new i4 rangefinder that you see right there. It is awesome. Personalized club recommendations along the way. It's like a caddy in your pocket. Did you know that only 6 players in history have won the PGA Championship 3 or more times coming into this week? Here is that list as of Monday of the PGA Championship week. If you please, Walter Hagen tied with Jack Nicklaus, both having won it 5 times. Tiger Woods, 4 times. Gene Sarazen, Sam Snead, and one Brooks Koepka have each won it 3 times. Who might add to that list for a tournament celebrating its 107th edition? That list is really kind of short. Think about it for a second. Another incredible statistic that might shock you. 88 of the 106 PGA Championship victories that have come from Americans. 5 from Australia. No other player in the world representing any other country coming into this PGA Championship has won more than 2. The United States, they have truly dominated the PGA Championship, clearly, but you could dominate your club play with FlightScope's new i4 rangefinder. Make it easy. Make it FlightScope. All right, folks, enjoy the PGA Championship. We'll be with you to recap everything that took place. Cannot wait to share all of it. Until then, be well and goodbye for now.